بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة الأبدية على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. السلام عليكم my beloved ones ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah we are going to continue our rules of manasik al-Hajj. And we were doing the annex, the questions and answer session from the appendix or from the annex of say the Sistani's rules of Tawaf. And we reached the question number 16. Question number 16. شخص غشي عليه في أثناء الطواف. Somebody was performing the tawaf and he lost his conscience. Okay, that means kiss the wudu goodbye. You lose your conscience, wudu goes away. Now, don't tell me how can. I mean, he must be facing some bouts of hyperbolic spiritual state or something like that, shock and all kind of thing from the tawaf and this and got down. Or he had some kind of disease, hypoglycemia, low blood pressure, whatever things. And sometimes, especially in summer, it's low claustrophobic, and especially in the holy month of Ramadan and those seasons, high seasons, it becomes so crowded that people easily can lose their consciousness. Okay, so they can faint, they can be knocked down. فلو أن يكمله بعد الإفاقة. Can he complete? Remember the rule of completed 4 rounds or not completed 4 rounds will apply here. So it says al-ighma'u naqidun lit-tahara. Losing the consciousness is an invalidator of the purification, the metaphysical impurity. Okay, invalidation of the metaphysical impurity. So what should he do, Sayyidina? فعليه بعد الإفاقة تجديد الوضوء وإتمام الطواف أو استئنافه. So what should he do? After regaining the consciousness, he need to do the wudu. So after regaining the consciousness, he must perform the wudu and either complete the tawaf or redo the tawaf, with the details mentioned in ruling number 285. If it was after the 4th round, complete. If it was before the 4th round, redo. That was the rule of thumb with certain details. You can refer to ruling number 285, which we explained. Question number 17. إذا أحدث أثناء الطواف فخجل أن بيديه. أحدث أثناء الطواف فخجل أن بيديه. No, sorry about that. Not بيديه. أن يبديه. Oh my goodness, let me just make it closer. Yes. فخجل. He was embarrassed. أن يبديه. Okay. وحج كذلك. فما هو حكمه? So this guy during the tawaf did something which invalidates his wudu. Now, if the drops of urine come out, he would not be embarrassed. Okay, maybe he will be embarrassed. If stool came out, he might be embarrassed. If diarrhea or something like that seeped out. Or if he broke a wind or a thunderstorm, that would be a case of embarrassment for that person. Okay, so he didn't want to leave the tawaf because he had his friends circles, and some of his friends and circles were like humorous kind of thing, and they don't have mercy if somebody does kind of break a wind or something like that. So what happens? For whatever reason, he was embarrassed to reveal that he has done it, invalidate his wudu or ghusl maybe, because he mentions that أحدث, يعني حدث could be أصغر أكبر. The metaphysical impurity was encountered. So he was embarrassed to reveal that kind of invalidity of the purity, or invalidity of the ghusl or wudu. That means the encounterance of the metaphysical impurity. وحج, and he completed his tawaf and he performed his hajj. So what would be his ruling? وحج كذلك, he performed his hajj in such condition. That means tawaf and salat al-tawaf. Answer: tawafu batil. His tawaf will be invalid. وبه يبطل حجه, and with that the hajj will become invalid and he needs to redo the hajj. Okay, kiss your tawaf goodbye, kiss your hajj goodbye, redo the hajj, because the question says وحج, he did his hajj in such condition. Okay, question number 18. إذا أحدث في الشوط الأخير, he he encountered the metaphysical impurity حدث in the last round. وخرج, and he left. وتطهر ثم عاد واستأنف طوافه فليصح منه الطواف. So what his responsibility was? What you'll say, this question is no, the responsibility was what? The responsibility is that before fourth round or after fourth round. So this is after fourth round. So his responsibility was what? To complete the tawaf after getting the purity. What did he do? He did the whole tawaf after getting the purity. So that's why they have asked this question. إذا أحدث في الشوط الأخير, if somebody encounters metaphysical impurity in the last round, that means after fourth round, وخرج, and he left, وتطهر ثم عاد, and he purified himself and came back, he did his wudu and came back, واستأنف الطواف, not كمل أتم, he did not complete, he redid his tawaf. Will that be valid from him? Number one, إذا استأنفه بعد فوات الموالاة العرفية صح. If the consistency had lost, remember the consistency, mualat, if he had lost the consistency, then obviously what will happen? The whole tawaf, because remember the 10 minutes gap was lost, or he left the mataf area, the platform of tawaf. Remember, the consistency is lost if somebody exits the tawaf area even for 1 minute. He went to Safa and Marwa area. Okay, he had his bottle of water there somehow, or he spent like more than 10 minutes in doing his wudu. So if he misses this consistency or continuity, which is commonly considered continuity, mualat urfiya, sahha, fine. He's supposed to redo the whole thing because he lost his mualat. However, وَإِلَّا تُشْكَلْ صَحَّتُهُ. However, if the mualat was not missed, it's problematic to consider that tawaf correct. Why? He was supposed to complete his tawaf, the last round, not redo the whole thing. So it's ishkal, problematic. So, ما لم يكن جاهلا قاصرا. Unless if it was ignorant, unintentional ignorant. That means it did not encounter in his mind. That means he did not doubt to ask. That means if he doubted but he could not find anybody to ask. So there are several ways a person could be unintentional ignorant. So what's intentional ignorant? He doubts and he has someone to ask. And he has the cell phone to ask a Maulana, professional Maulana in these issues. And he does not ask. So that is negligence. That is intentional ignorance. That means he kept himself unaware, ignorant intentionally. He did not try to relieve his ignorance. So if if he was unintentional ignorant, it will be correct. He did not know, he did not realize, it never came into his mind that he needs to ask or something like that. ما لم يكن جاهلا لا سيما إذا كان الحدث قد صدر منه بغير اختياره. Especially if the hadath, if the metaphysical impurity encountered without his, it was involuntarily. It was not like voluntarily. He did not intend, let me just release it now and make the intention and planning and whoopsie daisy. No, remember that those people, you beat the elbows to your stomach and whoopsie daisy, and you were holding that bloated stuff inside your stomach and it went out. So therefore, in this case, it was like a situation where you did not have any option. I mean, the guy kicked me hard in my stomach, whatever was accumulated. I'd left it until I'm done with my tawaf. Until I'm done with my tawaf. And whoopsie daisy, it came out, all that accumulated gases or whatever. So if it was, if وإلا تشكل صحته لا سيما إذا كان الحدث قد صدر منه بغير اختياره. So the tawaf will be invalid. I mean, on the basis of obligatory precaution. So that means tushkal ishkal. Whenever he says ishkal, that means it's an area of obligatory precaution. So find someone which allows you to what? To consider it correct. There is, because some scholars they say redo with the intention of tamam and itmam. And say this is Sistani Damadallah previously. This is an updated ruling. Previously he had that bring one full round if you doubt that you missed mualat or not with the niyat of tamam and itmam. That means if I'm required to complete, I complete it. If I'm required to redo the whole thing, I redo the whole thing. So some of the maraja, they have this. But say the Sistani has made it like simplified it black and white. Before four, after fourth round. That's it. So وإلا تشكل صحته. So if the consistency was missed, then and he إذا استأنفه, if he did the whole tawaf after missing the continuous consistency or the continuity, commonly considered continuity. Mualat al-urfiyya. Urf is common consideration. The common sees that you have not missed. That means to say the Sistani normally not more than 10 minutes gap, or not getting out of the platform of tawaf. When you get out of the platform of tawaf, that means you gave up your tawaf. Okay? So that is something which, so if it was missed, khalas, your full tawaf will be okay, redoing the whole tawaf. But if it was not missed, وَإِلَّا تُشْكَلْ صَحَّتُهُ, otherwise it will become problematic to consider it valid. Problematic. Find someone else, okay, or redo the whole tawaf back again. مَا لَمْ يَكُنْ جَاهِلًا قَاصِرًا, unless if he was ignorant, okay, about uh, the ignorant about the redoing, ignorant about the ruling of this that 4 round and less than 4 round, especially لا سيما إذا كان الحدث قد صدر منه بغير اختياره. We said if hadath, if something, it like oopsie daisy kind of thing, if it encounters involuntarily, so you just complete, not redo the whole thing. So your responsibility was to complete, especially if the hadath was involuntarily. You did not have control. In that case, you just complete the round and redo it. Remember the rulings? Go back to those areas. You'll find the ruling of it. Question number 19. Excuse me. Question number 19. ذكرتم في المناسك. You mentioned in manasik. Okay, مناسك الحج. You mention in مناسك, ذكرتم في المناسك أن من قطع طوافه بعد الشوط الرابع, whoever discontinues his tawaf, excuse me, after the fourth round, بصدور الحدث منه باختياره, encounters the metaphysical impurity but voluntarily. That means he has an option not to, but he did it. فالأحوط أن يتوضأ. So on the basis of obligatory precaution, he needs to perform his wudu. ويتم طوافه من حيث القطع ثم يعيده. This is the area of where it was voluntarily done. So you complete your tawaf and you redo it. You complete your tawaf and you redo it on the basis of obligatory precaution because you were able to hold yourself. And it was after the fourth round and you're able to hold yourself, you did not hold yourself. So you complete wherever you left and redo. This is if the consistency, commonly considered continuity, had not been missed out. If missed out, the whole thing needs to be done. So this was voluntarily, and this was after the fourth round. So obligatory precaution is to complete your tawaf, leftover, and then redo another one. ويتم الطواف من حيث ثم يعيده. So what about Sayyidina? Once upon a time, we used to hear the tamam and itmam intention. والسؤال, the question is, هل يجزي أن يأتي بطواف جديد instead of bringing two tawaf, complete and redo? Because maybe the previous tawaf is correct, so you said complete this. And maybe the previous tawaf is not correct, invalid, because it was optional, intentional invalidity, encounters of hadath. Then you need to do the whole thing. So because you have hesitation, you made this obligatory precaution to complete and redo. Can someone do that 7 rounds with the intention of tamam and itmam, two in one? If it was, if that discontinued tawaf was okay rounds, then I've continued. And if it was not, then I've completed. So performing 7 rounds again. Can I do 7 rounds instead of doing completing and redoing the whole 7 rounds? Can I do just 7 rounds with the intention of complete and renew? What does that mean? That means I missed 3 rounds or I missed like 2 rounds. Okay. So 2 rounds were remaining. I come, I do 7 rounds. Intention that from the seven, these two, if my previous 5 rounds are okay, two are taken and the rest will be extra. Or if those two were not sufficient, then I have done the whole tawaf, two in one, shortcut. So he says that, can I do like that? You see, he said, for me, it's problematic because some maraja, they say, do the niyat of tamam and itmam. Why? Because he said that tawaf requires immediate salat al-tawaf for Sayyidi Sistani in such cases. Okay? Tawaf, salat, tawaf, salat. Complete your 4 rounds, do the salat al-tawaf, whatever was, complete your 2 rounds in our hypothesis, complete your 2 rounds, do your salat al-tawaf, redo the whole thing and do salat al-tawaf. So salat al-tawaf needs to be sort of attached, not leaving 10 more than 10 minutes gap. So he said that's problematic. Mahallu ishkal to do that 7 rounds in the intention of tamam and itmam. فلا بد لرعاية الاحتياط المذكور. So it is necessary to observe the precautionary measures to complete the previous round and يأتي بطواف جديد. Okay, sorry, من إتمام الطواف بعد تحصيل الطهارة. To complete the previous tawaf, like 2 rounds remaining, okay? Uh, after after the purification. وَالْإِتْيَانِ بِصَلَاتِهِ. Okay, and after that you perform the salat of that tawaf. ثم إعادة الطواف وصلاته. After that you redo the tawaf and the salat. So the whole issue is those who said tamam and itmam two in one, and say the Sistani Damadullah, if I'm not mistaken, before long time ago he had this ruling of tamam and itmam, or it was yeah, some other marja. However, so it is the one of the ruling is that, but Sayyidi Sistani has a problem in the issue of salat al-tawaf. Salat al-tawaf needs to be after the tawaf. And now it's not a serious problem. It's not a fatwa. It's a precautionary measure. He says observe precautionary measure. So if you find another marja who says it is sufficient and is next in line in A'lamiyya, khalas, do tamam and itmam and finish it off. And so, do two salat al-tawaf later on. Salat al-tawaf with the one salat al-tawaf, sorry, because one of them is valid and one of them is invalid. Okay, so you do one salat al-tawaf later on. So if, because you're going to do 7 rounds only, so if though the previous tawaf was missing 2 rounds, so you did it 5 rounds extra thawab you'll get. It will be considered recommended tawaf. So you will need only 2 rakat tawaf based on other maraja, some other maraja. Based on Sayyidi Sistani, he says obligatory precaution, complete the tawaf, pray 2 rakat, then redo one tawaf and pray 2 rakat. So it's a precautionary measure. That means you can refer to another marja and just complete that with the intention of tamam and itmam. Ruling number 20. Warada fil manasik. If it is mentioned in the manasik that after completing the 4th round, this is repeated ruling. If he encountered the metaphysical impurity voluntarily, so it is obligatory precaution to complete the tawaf. Okay, اختيارا أن الأحوط أن يتم طوافه بعد الطهارة من حيث قطع ثم يعيده. So this is, we said it, that uh, if it was ikhtiyaran, he discontinued ikhtiyaran after the 4th round, then he should complete it after after having the purification, wherever he left, and then repeat that tawaf because it was volunteer encounterance of والسؤال, the question is أنه هل تكون الإعادة قبل صلاة الطواف أم بعدها? Obviously, in the previous question, it was that you complete the tawaf, 2 rakat, and then bring the another tawaf and 2 rakat. So the salat al-tawaf as a precautionary measure must be after each tawaf done, because every tawaf needs to have salat al-tawaf immediately after it. Question number 21. إذا علم بعد الطواف, if he realizes after the tawaf that he had encountered the metaphysical impurity during the tawaf, ولم يعلم أنه كان, and he does not know it was before the 4th round or after the 4th round, so what should he do? So there's a doubt, remember. Doubt in what? If it was before the 4th round, he should have done what? Redone the tawaf. If it was after the 4th round, he should have continued. When did he doubt? After completing the tawaf. إذا علم بعد الطواف. So which rule will be applied? قاعدة الفراغ. So he said, خلاص, the rule of completion will be applied. So he says, يبني على صحة طوافه. He will consider his tawaf correct. That's number 1. But there's unless what, Sayyidina? Unless if there was a yaqeen. Because قاعدة الفراغ solves the situation of doubt, does not solve the situation of yaqeen. So if he had doubt, okay, before or after completing the tawaf, then the قاعدة الفراغ will be applied here. However, إلا ما يتيقن بكونه محدثا فيه من الأشواط الثلاثة الأخيرة فيعيده. However, if he gains yaqeen, certainty, that hadath might have encountered in the last three rounds, so he will only redo the last three rounds. Okay? إلا ما يتيقن بكونه محدثا فيه من الأشواط الثلاث الأخيرة. Unless if he is certain about becoming or encountering the metaphysical impurity in the last three rounds. So he will redo the last three rounds. So four rounds done, there's a doubt. Maybe, maybe not. But last three rounds, I am sure that in one of these three rounds, the najasat encountered yaqeen for sure. Ruling question number 22. إذا حج المكلف ثم التفت أنه كان جاهلا ببعض أحكام الوضوء. Excuse me. So, if a person performs Hajj, then he realized that he was ignorant or unaware about some of the rulings of wudu, كلزوم تأثر الممسوح برطوبة الماسح. That means when you do the masah, wiping, that means the wetness needs to be transmitted from the wiper to the wiped upon. You're wiping the feet, and you just wiped, and there's no effect of wetness. So it says the effect of wetness needs to be there. How can that happen? The hand might have become dried and you thought it was wet. So you just did the mash. Okay? Because say the Sistani says you can do the mash like this. For the foot, you can do mash like this. So you did the mash. When you did the mash, the hands were wet. So there was no effect. Number one. Number two, or the foot was wet, the wetness of the foot was more than the wetness of the wiper. So the wiper did not have any effect. So you got this? So the effect of masah. How does the masah, how does the wiping affect? There needs to be wetness here. If there's no wetness here, it dried, you're doing the masah, the wetness did not transmit. Even little bit, it did not. Or the foot is totally wet and the wetness on the foot is more than the wetness on the hand. So when you wipe, there'll be no effect for the wiper, the wetness of the wiper, because there's too much wetness there. So that's why they say you don't have to dry the foot totally, but you need to make sure that the wetness of the wiper is more than the wetness of the wiped upon. So he says that, where did we go? Yeah. كلزوم تأثر الممسوح برطوبة الماسح. He was not aware about certain specifics of the ruling of the wudu, that the wiped upon should be affected by the wetness of the wiper. That means the masah, and this is mamsuh, this is wiper and this is wiped upon. ويشك الآن, and now he's doubting. He's doubting in what? في وضوئه. He's doubting in his wudu. الذي أتى به للطواف وصلاته. So he did not know some specific rulings. Okay? And now he's doubting that was his wudu correct, in which he performed the tawaf and salat al-tawaf, or no. So what is his ruling? He says, يبني على صحته. Okay? He was unaware and he does not know. I mean, he's doubting. So there's a doubt after the completion of the what? Of the tawaf. Doubt after the completion of the tawaf. ويشك يبني على صحته. He will consider correct. وإلا فيما إذا كان يعتقد مانعية ما هو شرط واحتمل الإتيان به غفلة. unless unless what? Unless if he believes, if he's sure. يعتقد means certainty. If he's sure. إلا فيما إذا كان يعتقد مانعية ما هو شرط واحتمل الإتيان به غفلة. There is something it should not happen and then he did it. يعتقد مانعية ما هو شرط. That means there's one condition, it should not be there. واحتمل الإتيان به, and he doubted that because conditions are do's and don'ts. So one of the don'ts which should not have been done, he doubts that he did it. غفلة, out of heedlessness. فإنه لا يصح البناء على الصحة. Then he cannot consider it to be correct. For example, what are the don'ts? Don't perform the wudu with usurped water. Don't perform the wudu with mixed water, orange juice or rose water or those kind of things. Like don't perform the conditions of the wudu, then they are, don't violate those conditions. So there was something he was not supposed to do, and he considers the possibility of performing something which he was not supposed to perform. إذا كان فيما إذا كان يعتقد مانعية ما هو شرط, something which was preventive for whatever is a condition. So it was, he was believing that this is preventing me from fulfilling the condition of wudu. واحتمل الاتيان به, and he has a probability that he might have performed it غفلة, out of heedlessness. Then he cannot consider, because you need to fulfill the conditions of wudu before performing the wudu. And conditions of, remember, we have always conditions and obligations. Conditions of wudu: the water should be pure, the water should not be usurped, the water should be not mixed water, and all those kind of conditions. And then there is the obligations of wudu: washing the face, washing the arms, wiping the head, and wiping the feet. The same thing in tawaf, conditions of tawaf, obligations of tawaf. Same thing in salat, conditions of salat, obligations of salat. So there are always prerequisite conditions. So there is a problem that this guy has messed up in the condition, okay? Then the problem will be. But if he did the wudu and there was a problem in doubt in the obligations of wudu, like you have to wipe, okay? But there was a doubt that did the wiping affect the wiped area or not. So these are some minor issues in the obligations, not in the conditions. So he says in that case, okay, the wudu, the wudu will be correct because it's a doubt in something which is obligations of wudu, the minor things, and he's doubting in his wudu. So he says, if that's the case, then the wudu will be okay, and the salat will be okay, and tawaf will be okay. However, if he was sure that some things, there was a problem in the conditions of the wudu, okay, and what he was not supposed to do and he did it out of heedlessness, then he cannot consider his wudu correct because the issue is now in the condition. Question number 23. Let's say if somebody was in the state of janaba, okay, he slept, a mujnib إذا كان يضر به استعمال الماء. Somebody is in the state of janaba, metaphysical impurity by sexual defilement, and the water was harmful to him. So the use of the water was harmful. هل يكفي التيمم ويطوف? Will it be sufficient for him to perform tayammum and perform the tawaf? He says نعم يكفيه إذا كان يائسا عن زوال عذره قبل فوات وقت النسك. So it is sufficient for him. It will be sufficient for him if he was hopeless, if he was hopeless, it would be sufficient for him to perform the tayammum. If it was hopeless in the removal of his excuse before missing the time of the nusk. What is the time of the nusk? We said for Umrah, you have the before departure and you cannot delay. For Hajj, end of the Hajj. For Umrah al-Tamattu, the noon of the day of Arafat. So these are the three limits. So if you know that you are not going to be pure, or the excuse is going to continue. So if there was hopelessness in removal of the excuse which caused him to perform tayammum before the before missing the time of the manasik of Hajj or manasik of Umrah, before the missing the time of the tawaf and the salat al-tawaf, then obviously tayammum will be valid. But if you know that after 2 3 days you are still in Makkah and you can still perform the tawaf of Umrah al-Tamattu and still there's time for day of Arafah or Hajj, there's still time until 30th al Hajj, then you should not do the tayammum. Wait until the excuse, the harm is relieved, your excuse is relieved, and then you can do the thing. Okay. Ruling number 24. Imra ajiz. A woman, she's elderly. Okay. Elderly means incapable. Not every elderly. She is incapable of, maybe she's young woman. Okay. Ajiza means she's incapable. So a woman who's incapable to wipe her foot. Okay. لا يمكنها أن تمسح قدميها بيديها. With her hands she cannot. ولكن كانت توصل يدها إلى الإصبع الكبير من قدمها اليمنى ثم تسحب البلل بإصبعها الكبير من القدم اليسرى. So she was able to uh, reach her hand to the big toe, the big toe, okay, of the fingers of the foot. So she was able, not the whole hand, but she's able to reach with her finger on the right foot. Finger, the biggest finger, which is the biggest toe, from the right foot. ولكن كانت توصل يدها إلى الأصبع الكبير من قدميها ثم تسحب البلل بإصبعها الكبير من القدم اليسرى إلى نهاية القدم. وهكذا في العكس. وأدت عمرتها. The same thing, and she did same thing with the opposite, and she performed her umrah with this wudu. So هل تصح? So will that be sufficient, and will that umrah be valid, and will that wudu be valid? Because the problem was where? The problem was not in the conditions. The problem was in the obligations of wudu. She was not able to fulfill them properly. So he says, إذا كانت تمسح شيئا ولو يسيرا من أصبع القدم باليد ثم تكمله بأصبع القدم الأخرى صح وضوءها. If she was able to wipe even little bit, that means the wiping is done, but she's not able to wipe more than like this much, for example. It's not all the way until here. Okay, this much. إذا كانت تمسح شيئا, if she was wiping some part of the foot or the finger, which, because the question is about the finger. ولو يسيرا من القدم باليد, even if it was little bit amount of the toe of the foot with her hand. ثم تكمله بإصبع القدم الأخرى صح وضوءها. I don't know how to picture. Let me see how to give you the picture of this. Uh, okay, these are 2 foot. Okay, now where will I bring a hand? Let's say first this is hand and then it becomes your foot. Okay, right hand. Okay, so first this is your hand and then it becomes your foot. So she wiped with her hand this much. She could not continue. This is the hand. Now remember, now this my hand has become a foot. So she would bring her left foot and complete the wetness which reached here till the end. So part of her wiping has been done by the by the hand and right hand, and part of the masah continuation has been done by the by the left foot on the right foot continuation using foot. Okay, because the wetness reached here, then she puts her foot and continues it. I don't know if you pictured or not. Imagine those people who are writing, who don't have hands and they are drawing with their foot. So maybe this can be they hold their pen with their foot and might give you some idea about this ruling. Okay, so the question is like this: Imra ajiza, an incapable woman, be it young or old, due to certain fracture, certain thing, she can reach her hand to the foot in a way that little bit of it she can. So she can do. Then she brings her foot and then continues with the foot toe of the foot, the masah. And the same thing for the other side. Okay? وهكذا في العكس. And she did her umrah. May Allah have His mercy upon this woman, okay, and reward her with the best. With such condition, and she still wants to visit the house of God. So, what is the answer? The answer is إذا كانت, now this is hand, okay? إذا كانت تمسح شيئا ولو يسيرا. She is like wiping a little bit of her أصبع القدم, because she cannot reach it. You know, say the Sistani says you can wipe like this, you can wipe like this. Okay, from the beginning till the ankle, or from the ankle till here. So this hypothesis in this ruling is she's starting from the أصبع yes إذا كانت تمسح شيئا ولو يسيرا من أصبع القدم باليد. She's wiping even little bit with the hand, little bit of the foot toe, okay, باليد. ثم تكمله. After that, she brings the foot toe and completes the masah from where she left. صح وضوءها. Her wudu will be correct. وأما إذا كانت تضع الماء على ظاهر الإصبع ثم تجره فلا يصح ويقع طوافها باطلا. However, if she brings water and she pours on the foot and then she drags it, then her masah will be invalid and the tawaf will be invalid. Why? Because this is not the remaining water of the wudu. The remaining water of the wudu, after you have washed your hands and you have wiped your head, whatever is remaining, that is the wetness which you need to do the wiping of the foot. So when she poured, she brought extra water here on the foot. No, previously, no. What she did was she brought her hand and she, and remember in the chapter of wudu you have that if she cannot reach, somebody can take the wetness of the remaining of the water of the wudu, okay, from her hand and wipe. So if you go to the chapter of wudu, you will find this ruling there. So no new water. Masah should be with water, with whatever remains from the water. Okay. Now this, okay, so there's a tawaf issue here, because this was one of the turuks of ihram. We were supposed to do this in the. I think we must have done this ruling in the chapter of ihram. So he says that medical conditions which are encountering nowadays, okay, هل الأوضاع الصحية is are the medical conditions encountering nowadays allows the women to wear mask. Remember, they cannot cover their face. Um, um, yes, mask during the time during the state of ihram, um, and then if she does that, wearing the mask, does it affect the validity of her tawaf? He said, يجوز لها لبس يجوز لها لبسه. It is permissible for her to wear that mask. يجوز لها لبسه مع خوف الضرر, with the fear of harm. If she will not wear, then these gases and germs and a lot of diseases, and she's weak, for example, she can, her immunity is weak, that because there are millions of tawaf, people doing tawaf. Subhanallah, it's a blessing. Very few people they become sick. Yes, they get common cold and they get this post but alhamdulillah, not serious cases, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects his guest. Subhanak ya Rabb. حتى في حال الطواف, during the tawaf time. Okay. So first of all, she can wear, if there was a fear of harm, even during the tawaf, لعدم صدق التنقب, because it is not considered niqab باستخدامه على الوجه المتعارف. Remember, the niqab is this. She's wearing like this mask. She's not wearing niqab, the veil. So it is not considered veil. And finally, من اغتسل غسل الإحرام ولكن نام أو خرج منه ريح فأعاد الغسل، فهل الغسل الثاني يغني عن الوضوء آه، في أداء الطواف؟ If somebody performed the ghusl of ihram, but he slept, or the wind blew from him, okay, I mean, he discharged gas, فعاد الغسل. So he repeated the ghusl. So the question is, will the second ghusl be sufficient for him from wudu في أداء الطواف, to perform the tawaf? So he said, yes, الظاهر ذلك, apparently it will be, because he's still in the state of ihram, so he can do the ghusl of ihram. Uh, but check with your marja, because this is apparently, so that means there is another rule which your marja might be disagreeing or differing in it. Okay, so here we have what? من اغتسل غسل الإحرام, whoever performs the ghusl of ihram ولكنه نام, that means this ghusl was invalid, so he redid the ghusl. فهل الغسل الثاني يغني عن الوضوء في أداء الطواف? So will the second ghusl be sufficient for him in performing the tawaf? He says apparently yes, it will be sufficient. So this is one of the batch of questions and answers. There's another batch of questions and answers for tawaf. This was about the conditions. Then we will have the obligations of tawaf and the troubleshooters of tawaf, doubts and those kind of things. So we have quite numbers of questions and answers with regards to the tawaf. So وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين.